Today we are going to read a Blackfoot Indian legend titled The Story of Scarface. You may find this in your lesson. It is not found in your Journeys in Literature and Nonfiction book. Among the people called the Blackfoot, there once lived an orphan boy who had no friends to take care of him. The women of the tribe helped him as well as they could, giving him what they could spare of food and clothing. The men took him on their hunting expeditions and taught him just as they taught their own sons. The boy grew up strong and brave, and the men of the tribe said that one day he would make a mighty hunter. On one of these hunting expeditions, the boy met a great grizzly bear and fought a desperate fight with him. During the struggle, the bear raked its sharp claws across the boy's face. When the wound healed, the boy's face was marked by an ugly red scar. From this time, he was called Scarface. Scarface had a brave heart, and he thought little of his disfigured face until, that is, he fell in love with the daughter of the chief of his tribe. Every young man in the tribe wished to wed the beautiful daughter of the chief. They put on their finest warrior's garb or clothing and boasted of their brave deeds, but she did not care for their finery or their bold talk. As each ventured to ask for her hand in marriage, she refused them all. As for Scarface, he did not even dare to approach her. Though he loved her, he remained silent, and his heart ached whenever he thought of the terrible scar on his face. He did not know that the girl thought he was braver and truer than the other young men who boldly sought her affection. One day, as she sat outside her father's lodge, Scarface passed by, and as he passed he looked at her. His eyes could not hide his love and admiration. A young warrior whom the girl had refused noticed the look and said with a sneer, "See here, Scarface has become a suitor, or someone who wants to date, for our chief's daughter. Go on, Scarface, approach her, since she will have nothing to do with men whose faces are unmarked. Perhaps she will choose you, ugly as you are." Scarface felt hot anger rise within him. Looking very steadily at the young man, he said, "My brother speaks true words, though he speaks with an ill tongue. I will indeed ask the daughter of our great chief to be my wife." The young man laughed loudly in mockery or teasing. Other young men of the tribe came up, and they also laughed and pretended to bow down before Scarface. He took no notice, but walked away quietly, though in his heart he yearned to spring at them as the great grizzly had sprung at him in the forest. He came to the river where the chief's daughter had gone to gather rushes for the basket she was weaving. When he saw her, his anger died away. He drew near to her, knowing that if he did not speak at once, his courage would leave him. "I have no wealth or pemmican," which is money, "as the great warriors of the tribe have," he said. "I live by my bow and spear, and my face is terribly marred," which means scarred. "Yet I love you. Will you dwell in my lodge and be my wife?" "That you are poor," she replied, "does not matter, for my father has great wealth that he would give me upon my marriage. But I may not be your bride. The great Lord of the Sun has commanded me not to marry." When Scarface heard these words, his heart sank. Yet he did not give up hope. Perhaps the Lord of the Sun will take back his command. He is kind and gives many good gifts. "Go to him then," said the girl. "Ask him to release me from his command, and so that I may know he has done so, ask him to take the scar from your face as a sign." "I will go and do as you say," said Scarface, and he turned and started on his journey. He traveled for many miles through the forest and over mountains, across rivers and glowing prairies, but met no one who could help him find the way to the country of the sun. At last he came to a lodge on the edge of the golden prairie, where he found an old woman sitting on the doorstep. "Can you tell me," he asked, "how I may find the lodge of the sun?" "The way is long and hard," she said, but she saw strength in his eyes, so she continued, I will put you on the path. If your heart does not fail you, you will reach the sky country." The old woman gave him a pair of moccasins and a pouch full of pemmican. "Take these," she said, "and walk to the sea. Sit down on the shore for 3 days. Then you will know how to reach the dwelling place of the sun." Scarface thanked the old woman, put on the moccasins, carried the pouch of pemmican in one hand, and hastened across the trackless prairie. He journeyed for months until he lost count of the days, until his pemmican was gone and his moccasins were worn through, and then at last he reached the sea. As the old woman had directed him, he sat down on the shore and waited, and on the third day, when the sun was sinking below the distant edge of the water, he saw a shining trail that led to the sky country. The young man leapt up at once and hurried down the glowing path. Then as he rounded a bend, he saw a bow and a quiver, which is what holds arrows, full of gleaming arrows lying just to the side of the trail. He looked down at them in wonder. "Those must belong to a great hunter," he breathed. "I have never seen any so fine." But Scarface did not pick them up. "They are beautiful," he thought, "but they are not mine to take." So he continued down the path. Soon he saw a young man coming toward him. The handsome stranger walked with a sprightly step, and his eyes sparkled, and he even seemed to glow with a soft light. "I am looking for my bows and arrows," the stranger said to Scarface. "Have you seen them?" "I just passed them," replied Scarface. "They are lying by the side of the trail not far from here. I will show you." Scarface brought the young man to where the bow and arrows lay. As the youth picked them up he smiled and said, "I thought it unfortunate to have lost my bow and arrows, but now I think I am lucky indeed, for not only have I found them, but a friend besides. Tell me, where are you going? Perhaps we can walk a ways together." "I am trying to reach the Sun's Lodge," replied Scarface. "It is indeed nearby," said the young man. "You know where it is?" asked Scarface. "I do," the youth replied, "for I am Morning Star. The sun is my father, and his lodge is my home. Come with me, and I will take you there." But as they walked along the path, Morning Star said, "I warn you, my father is hasty," which means quick to judge, and hot-tempered. "He may kill you for having come here." Then he sighed, "We will ask my mother what to do." When the two young men arrived at the Sun's Lodge, Morning Star opened the door and called to his mother, the Moon. "Mother," he said, "this young man is my friend. He has come from a distant land beyond the waters to see the sun. Please let us help him." The Moon nodded, and when the Sun returned to the lodge in the evening, she pleaded with him to spare Scarface's life. The Sun looked hard at Scarface. His face was so bright that Scarface could not return his gaze, but he stood bravely and did not flinch. After a few moments the Sun dimmed his rays and said to Morning Star, "You wish this young man to be your companion?" "Yes," replied Morning Star. "I am tired of hunting alone." "Very well," said the Sun. Then turning to Scarface he said, "Stay with us for a season. You will find good game here. My son, who loves the chase, will go with you." "I will stay, great lord," replied Scarface. And so Scarface stayed with the Sun, the Moon, and Morning Star in their lodge in the sky country. Each day the two young men went hunting, for the Sun told them that they could go anywhere they pleased, except to the lair of monstrous birds. "You must not go there," said the Sun. "They will try to kill my son." But Morning Star yearned to try his skill against the dread birds. So one day he slipped away from Scarface and crept down to their lair. At once the flock descended upon them, and they would have torn him to pieces, but Scarface heard their hideous cries and ran to the aid of Morning Star. He dashed in among the fierce creatures and beat them off with his club. Then he seized Morning Star and hurried him back through the forest to safety. When they returned to the lodge that night, Morning Star told his father of his own disobedience and the courage of Scarface. "You have saved my son from a dreadful death," said the Sun to Scarface. "How shall I repay you? Ask of me some favor. After all, what was it that brought you here? Surely you had some desire in your heart, or you would not have traveled so far and risked such danger." The kind words of the Sun gave Scarface the courage to speak the thing that had long been on his mind, but which he had not dared to ask. In my own land, he said, I love a maiden who is the daughter of the chief of my people, but I am only a poor warrior with a disfigured face that is terrible to see. Still, she in her goodness loves me and would marry me, but for your command that she will marry no man. O great Lord, I came to you to ask that you free her from your command, so we might wed and live in happiness together. Go back, said the son, and take the maiden for your wife. Tell her it is my will that she marry you. As for the scar on your face, truly, I think you have made a great journey for so small a blemish. Then he invited both Morning Star and Scarface to sit with him in the sweat lodge, which is like a tent that they heat up so you sweat. And when they came out again, the two young men looked alike. The sun stood behind the two youths and said to the moon, Which one is Morning Star? The moon looked carefully and pointed to one of them. That is Scarface, laughed the sun. From now on we will call him the one you took for Morning Star. We will call him Starface. Come, said the sun to Starface, take this shirt and leggings and bring them back to your people. Sing the songs I will teach you so they will know of your great deed. When Starface had learned the songs, he said, Thank you. Now I must return to my people. I am grateful to you, but I have been here long enough. And so he said a fond farewell to Morning Star, the moon, and the sun. Then the sun sent him back to his tribe. All the people came to look at the richly clad, or clothed, young warrior who walked with such a quick, light step, but none knew him for Scarface. Even the chief's daughter did not recognize him when she first looked upon him, but a second look told her who he was, and she called his name. But then, realizing that the scar was gone, and understanding what its disappearance meant, she sprang to him with a cry of joy. The story of his wonderful journey was told, and the chief gladly gave his daughter in marriage to this warrior on whom the great Lord of the Sun had looked with favor.